Cool. Okay, so we had core PCE price index just come out and pretty much remained the same as the previous, same rate. Prelim GDP dropped down from 1.4 to 0.7. And then we have durable goods orders also sitting at 0%, which basically just means that at the same exact pace as the previous. We're expecting an increase up to 1.1%. And then we have the JOLTS job openings that's going to come out in about 20 minutes, and then consumer sentiment, inflation expectations. So today is economic data heavy. So what we're going to do, ideally wait for another 20 minutes or so for a potential move. But the levels from the live session earlier this week have been respected in the last 2 days. So we're still sitting at a pretty good level. I'm going to mark off the candle body open for this week. 46,720. And then let's just mark off the candle body closure from last week and then drop down to the lower time frames. Alright, come over to the daily. So the daily support from Monday, and then yesterday, Thursday, and today, Friday. Still pushing back up, and then I'm gonna create a zone.
Sorry, Shama. So does it mean that we are in a bearish trend now on the daily?
In a strong hourly candle?
No. I said that. Does it mean that it's now bearish, the daily time frame?
It's not bearish just yet.
Okay.
Because if you look at the structure from April, we're basically at a level right now where we're simply testing structure.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so but if we break that and retest it, or if we break and continue downwards, then it will be to the 10s. Okay.
Yeah. If we break below this level, then we have transitioned into a fully bearish structure.
Okay.
So what we can do, a couple of scenarios here, is we've had massive consolidation at all-time highs, pullbacks, and then a push back up, and remain above 46,000. If we're above 46,000, it's simply a retest of the overall bullish structure.
Okay.
But if we break below this 46,000 level, look for a retest to come back into 46,000 up to 46,700 area, and then a pushback down there. So the next target then is going to be down here.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, so off of the daily time frame, we have this minor resistance and support here. So what I want to see when I drop down to the 4-hour and 1 hour now is a break and retest formation above this area. If we get that, then that gives me the confirmation that we're headed right back up into the 420 area, and maybe potentially coming back a little bit higher into this level here. So based off the 4-hour time frame, we had a nice sell-off from Tuesday, carried that into Wednesday, and then into Thursday we had a little bit of this consolidation area, and then today now we're starting to push back up. Come on to the hourly time frame. A little support formation, and then a lot of bullish momentum. Right now, a ton of bullish momentum, again, based off the data points, but we're going to get the first 15 closure of the New York Stock Exchange open here in about a couple of seconds, and then we're headed into the next red folder.
Yeah.
So drop down to the 15. So even based off the 15, no break and retest formation. So what I want to see here in the next 15 minutes or so is that we've already tapped into this consolidation here to the left. I want to see a bottom wick and then candle flip. As the candle flips, drop down to the 5-minute time frame to check the volume, because the confirmation will be coming based off of the 15 and the 30 and the higher time frames. On the 5-minute time frame, when I say check for the volume, I want to see at least a bottom wick rejection here, flip back up bullish, and then continue. the last couple of 5-minute candles, which is ever since the stock exchange opened up, have been quite bullish. So we want to make sure that we're kicking the sellers out and we have enough momentum to continue pushing back up bullish. So we will create an alert right around here and then look for almost a 200-point move back up, or we look for sells as price comes below that zone. Anything in between, I'm basically just waiting for price to come back and retest into the zone here. And then let's go over to gold, and then we will do currencies. Alright, so coming over to gold, current week's bottom wick rejection, 5,017.1. This week's candle body open, 5176.6. Drop down to the daily, that's the daily consolidation resistance right there. And then bottom wick rejections that we have gotten from Monday and even last week, Tuesday. Drop down to the 4-hour. This is our current 4-hour resistance. If I look to the left, I see a ton of rejections here as well. So if I'm looking for buys, I want price to break above that zone and continue pushing. Then we look for buys to go into 5176.6. And then if we're looking for sells, then I want price to break below this 4-hour support. Anything in between is going to be a no trade range. So when I see this on a 4-hour time frame, I know that when I drop down to the 1 hour or 30-minute, 15-minute, it's still going to be the same messy price action.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for a trade here. Let's check out silver. Silver is going to do the same exact thing that gold does, but a little bit more volatile movements. 79.75. I want a tighter resistance, so I'm going to drop down to the daily and have that daily resistance. 88.45. Drop to the 4-hour. And mark off all this resistance here that price is sitting at the moment. And then same exact thing as gold. This is my no trade range. Buys above this area or sells below. Alright, so got that perfect rejection again from the levels earlier this week. This is the current support based off of the weekly time frame, 1.325. And then drop down to the daily. The current daily candles open right here. Previous support, support, support. So a pretty strong level.
Yeah.
Alright, based off the 4-hour time frame, held onto a nice support here, starting to push back up for further confirmations of buys and make sure that we're not just doing a quick retest of any levels. We want price to break above this level here. And then we still have a pretty good range for a major pair for about 45 pips for quick scalps to end off the week. And then if price continues pushing back up, then you can continue that buy. But as of right now, even based off the 4-hour time frame, it seems like we have more bearish pressure, just looking at where the candle bodies are actually closing versus the rejections. EU is going to do the same thing that GU does. So you've got your bottom rejection for this week, 1.144. I'm going to mark off this support here and I want to see what price ends up doing. we come on to the daily time frame, we see previous resistance, support formation, and the current daily candles open right around here. Drop to the 4 hour, doing the same exact thing as GU, so looking for buys. We want the 4 hour high here to be broken and then keep pushing back up bullish. As that happens, I'm going to look to the left to see what is the next area where I can expect price reactions, which seems to be right around here. Previous support, bit of consolidation resistance. So if price keeps pushing, it breaks its own 4 hour high. Start off 20 pips, move into about 50 pip move. And then we have GJ. With this week, it gapped down and then pushed back up bullish. But we haven't come back down for a deeper retracement here just yet. Now come on to the daily time frame. This is where the candle pretty much opened up for this week. Push back up bullish. That's the area that we're headed into at the moment again. So if I'm going to create a zone, it's going to be right around here based off the daily time frame. If we're below the zone, then we're just looking for sells, quick scalps to come back down into 210.8. Come onto the 4 hour time frame. Nice break and retest setup right now. Going for about 45, 46 pips. Drop down to the hourly. A little messy here, but based off the 30-minute time frame, if in the next 8 minutes we can continue pushing and then close back down bearish, then we have the perfect sell opportunity setting up to continue down to 210.8. Any buys would be not breaking this previous low, just kind of tapping into it and then pushing back up bullish. As that happens, we've got clean price action back up, coming back for a total of about 50 pips to the upside as well. So that is what we are looking at today. Any questions about any of these?
No, thank you very much. So, Shana, are you trading US oil or just watching it?
I'm just watching it.
Okay.
It's too volatile, so if anything, I believe most people are trading futures.
Yeah, that candle, that really huge candle with the long wick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! I looked at that and said, I hope somebody was in the for a sale or whatever, because when you look at it, it's so huge.
Yeah.
It just went down on the weekly. When you look at it on the weekly, it's so long, or even on the daily. I looked at that and said, I hope somebody was in the for it.
Give me 1 second here.
Or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Massive gaps. This is pretty much the same exact setups from the newsletter that I sent out a couple of weeks ago, where we're looking at if price pushes up above the 100 mark, what the markets are going to do, and then right now it seems like it's being sustained between the $80 and the $90. So there's pressure when we're looking at, cross assets. There's a lot of pressure on equities. So that's why we're seeing a lot of that bearish pressure here as well. But if oil comes back down below the 80 mark, then we're going to expect that equities also push back up into the levels that the previous highs and all that stuff.
Okay. Also, the oil and the equity, they go opposite?
USD CAD.
Okay.
So a lot of times if the oil is down, then people start looking for buying opportunities on USD CAD. And then
Okay.
if oil is pushing back up, then people are looking for sells on USD CAD. But
All
clearly,
right.
as you can see, like, between the two charts, it's not always like a 1-to-1
Yeah.
100% move,
Yeah.
but it's just kind of understanding like what's the correlation around it. And then, so, just because US oil is up doesn't mean that that's your signal to start selling
Automatically, yeah.
USD
True.
CAD. Yeah.
Okay. So that massive candle on USD is just wicked. Now it's came down.
This one?
That massive, yeah, yeah. When it was going up, you'd be thinking it's going to go up forever, and then it just comes down like that.
Yeah, so see the last one? It closed with no top wick rejection, and it's also a reaction based off of the data points that came out and the New York market open. Now, if that's going to be a continued move, we want to make sure that's just a bottom wick here into the zone, respect this massive push up, reject the sellers, and then continue pushing back up. So now what happens is that because of this setup, we don't have to wait for price to come all the way up top here and then look for buying opportunities. We just want this 15 or 30 to close into the zone. And now, because of how deep it is, it gives the next candle, whether it's the 15 or 30 or 1 hour, enough room to make, let's say, another bottom wick rejection, come a little bit deeper into this overall consolidation, push back up, and now we're just waiting for 15, 5 or 30 close right above the zone, closer to 47,000 area. Next one, give you a bottom wick. As it creates a bottom wick and flips back up, now you can take an entry here and then have a tighter stop loss. Now this area then becomes your partial, wherever your 1-to-1 is, and then up here becomes your runner.
All right. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, because that used to confuse me, that now I've got these two opposing candles which are so long. Am I waiting to break the high of them for me to get into a position? But what you've just explained, yeah, it has made that one clear. Yeah.
And then depending on the data points that come out here in just a couple of minutes, let's say if it's weak data points, and US 30 wants to push back down, because then at that point you have mixed data, right? That's coming out, so you don't really have a clear direction on where to go. So price can come right back down below that 47,000 area and then into 46,720. So now what you wait for on the next candle is this type of setup, top wick, and then continue pushing. You want to give it enough room, so then you're making sure that it's not just, a bottom wick rejection on the next hourly, 15 minute, 30 minute, and then flip back up, which is basically, can it break the couple of 15-minute lows here, and then as it continues pushing, maybe it closes here, the next candle gives you another top wick, and then pushes down. That's where you look for your entry, and then you look for an entry to come all the way down here into 46,720, let some runners go, but expect that price is not going to drop all the way down here unless we're completely off the mark compared to the forecast when it comes to the Joel Schwab opening. But understand that it might just fluctuate here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Got a couple of seconds here, and then let's check the hourly here real quick. So based off the hourly time frame, still a lot of bullish pressure all the way up here, came back and rejected right into the zone. Now here's your new hourly candle formation. We want to see some bottom wick here and then flip back up, look for your buys, or simple top wick, something like this, and then come right back down. Alright, so consumer sentiment came out better than the forecast, hence it being green, but lower than the previous. So it's not too far off the mark compared to the previous and the forecast to really make, a huge difference. where we're not really expecting massive movements. We're going to expect a little bit of fluctuation in the current candle and then a push in one direction or another. Inflation expectations remain the same. Alright, JOLTS job openings came out, so now we're going to be expecting, some wick rejections and some movements there, because that came out better than the previous and the forecast.
Yeah.
So now we have already kind of figured out our directions, right? Whether it's for buy or sell based off of 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute. This is where you drop down to the 5 minute time frame and then you check for your volume. What that means is, can this candle move fast enough where I want to start looking for an entry? Or is it going to fluctuate like this, where I have small candle body closures but big wicks? On the second part of that, if you have big wicks but small candle bodies, then that means that I don't really want to be taking an entry there. There's not a clear direction. But once I start seeing bigger candle movements, I'm going to use the wick rejections to kind of figure out where to place my stop loss.
Okay.
So here, barely any bottom wick on any of these higher time frames. So what I'm going to wait for now is a candle closure. So either a 5 minute candle closure down here, and then the next candle takes me down, or I wait for a candle closure into the zone and then it takes me back up. So because I'm already watching this, I can remove the alert, because I won't be taking an entry until this 5 minute candle closes anyways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. Let's check up on gold. Previous hourly candle here on gold, nice rejection into 51.20, came back down, closed bearish. New one started forming and broke the previous low here already. Dropped down to 15 minute. A break and retest formation here where the previous 15 broke the previous high, came back down, closed bearish, didn't really break the previous low. The current one did, but look at the level that just rejected into.
Yeah.
So you don't have a clear direction here on gold. We're still sitting in no trade range. Now here we have that setup that we were talking about on US 30, right? Still trying to figure out if this is going to be a bottom wick and then flip back up. But now we are starting to reject right into the zone here. So we haven't broken the previous 15 or 30 here still. We've broken the previous 15 right here, but not the previous 30. So that's why we're waiting to see what price ends up doing here, if it's going to keep pushing. This new 5 minute candle is going to close here in just a couple of seconds. So if this one closes right into the zone here again, and then the next candle pushes back up, you're still waiting for a candle closure in either above or below the zone. Alright, so we got a 5 minute candle closure. Previous one, nice top wick rejection, came back down with a bottom wick and then a bearish candle closure. This new one started forming. If it makes a top wick rejection, breaks the previous low, that's your entry, and then you have nice sell opportunities just coming right back down for about almost a 200 point move. Just wait for it to break the low, and that's your entry with your stop loss right up top here, or even at the top of the range. And then wherever your 1-to-1 is, that's where you take some partials, and then you let everything else run. So wait for it to break the low. If it doesn't break the low, then it hasn't broken the previous 30-minute either, and you don't have enough seller's pressure to continue pushing. I want to check up on GJ here real quick too. So we have a little bit of movement here on US 30 already. GJ slowly making its way back down. So let's see if we can keep pushing. But based off the 15-minute, we do have smaller bodies, not large enough wicks, which tells me that we might need to wait a little bit more on GJ here. But based off higher time frames, it's definitely making its way back down. And then gold is still just sitting in consolidation, so nothing there just yet. Alright, so the 4-hour flips back down, bearish.
Okay. Yeah.
Come onto the hourly. It's trying to break its own low. There's your movement, broken the previous 30,
Yeah.
15, and 5. So that's your entry right now, stop loss right around here. And you're targeting 46,720 area with partials at 1-to-1. And that's going to be the last 5 minutes of this 15. So if we can keep pushing, you've got pretty good volume to the downside. So let's say your entry is right at the break of the previous 5 minute. Place your stop loss rather at the zone or right above the previous 5 minute top wick. You should be taking partials around this support.
Okay.
So even if it's just a small percentage, even if you're growing a small account, make sure that you're still taking some partials.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then move to break even after price clears below this area, not before it.
Okay.
Because you want to give price enough room to
Yes.
retest if it wanted to, but it
Yeah.
should not be breaking above the zone. So that's why I said, you can place your stop loss right above, at the top of the zone here.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see if there's anything else that came out. Alright, so the US is releasing 172 million barrels from its emergency oil reserve. Other countries are going to be doing the same thing. Okay, so going into next week, when the Fed meeting is going to happen, in terms of interest rates, they're expected to remain the same, but it seems like the focus here is going to be again on what they end up saying in the Fed's outlook, particularly around the war here and how that's going to be impacting inflation, mainly inflation, because the idea was that if oil remains above 100, if oil stays between 80 and 90, then we're for sure expecting that CPI is going to increase by 1 to 1.5%. But if it pushes above $100 again, then we're expecting that's going to have a much bigger impact when it comes to CPI data, which means that it's going to be pushing any interest rate changes further back. Alright, so we have a 15 close. We got a new 15 with a top wick. We're still waiting for it to clear below these wick rejections to move to break even. But by this point, you should already be taking some partials. So your stop loss is either right here above this 5 minute or right at the top of the range. You're still waiting for it to clear below this level here, so you still have a little bit more room to go. But by this point, you should have already taken some partials if you're in this trade. We're getting closer when it comes to GJ. We're going to stay on for this 5 minute close. And that's pretty much it. That's going to be the session. Any questions on any of the pairs that we have gone over, or any other pairs that you guys want to analyze before we end the session?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, make sure you're moving to break even or trailing your stop loss. So your TP is set at 720. If we see that continued volume, let's say this candle closes in the next 2 minutes with all this volume, and the next candle can give us a similar setup, and you can increase your TP down here. But all of this now should be just runners. You should have already secured some partials here, move to break even or trail your stop loss. So making sure that you're still getting out of this trade profitable. But if we get a wick rejection here, and let's say this candle closes somewhere here with a wick rejection, and then the next candle sets up like either of these, then we don't have enough volume to continue breaking below some of these minor support areas. Alright, last couple of seconds. Let's just check up on other pairs. What do we need to see for the rest of the session if there's going to be a trade? For gold, again, no trade if we're just sitting in this range here. But if we break back down, then we want to make sure that I have an alert set here because of this minor support here. So if price breaks below the support, then we have that clean movement to the downside. Otherwise, no trade today for gold. Silver is pretty much the same thing as gold. GJ is moving closer, so break the previous support, and then based off the 15-minute time frame, we have a lot of bearish pressure here to the downside. But because of the candle setup here with the small body, small wicks, and not a lot of bigger candle movements, I do want to see some sort of a top wick as soon as price breaks this low here, and then look for the entry there instead of on the current candle, just so it doesn't get stuck on like any fake outs or anything like that. And then major pairs we've already kind of talked about. So that's pretty much it for today. We have a pretty good trade that's going, taking partials, already moved to break even or trailed your stop loss, but you still want to give it enough room. So with this entry, trail your stop loss potentially just right above this little consolidation that you see, and the 5-minute again is simply used to keep testing the volume. We should keep seeing that bearish pushback down here.